Welcome to Creative Block. We're your host, Gene.
And V, we interview people in the animation industry about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We asked people on Twitter if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
And today with us, we have Ross O'Donovan.
Hello, how's it going, guys?
Yay! It's Ross. Did you like my song at the beginning?
Yeah, it was very good.
Thank you. I wrote it for you.
Appreciate it.
Ross is a animator, artist, voice actor. What else do you do? I don't really know what else you do.
Known from time on Game Grumps, streamer. Is there anything else I've done?
That's it.
Mario Maker guy. I don't know how to. Yeah.
We got chewed out on Twitter by somebody. Oh, man, I feel like even calling attention to it is a bad idea. But we wanted to focus about your like animation work on this episode.
Sure.
Because you have a very long career, and somebody was like, "God, you didn't even do your research. You don't even know what Ross does." And it's like, thanks, guy.
I've known you for years.
I know. That's what I told V. I was like, I've known Ross for like 12 years.
I've known you since Newgrounds. Like,
yeah.
Of course you know who I am.
Dumbass on Twitter trying to tell me who I don't.
I mean, okay, if I were to like play the devil's advocate, I did write the tweet in a way that was kind of like, like peppy and sweet. Like, I can't wait to find out more. So it does sound like we barely know you at all.
Yeah, whatever.
Russ, who? Yeah, no, it's all good.
But yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, not a problem.
Let's start things off talking about your baby years and sort of like, how you started, how you could draw since you could hold a pencil, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Should I be drawing while I'm talking, by the way?
Yeah, please. I mean, if you can do both.
Am I doing these prompts? Is that the...
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
So we have prompts on screen, and but you don't have to.
Oh, no, I will. Let me have a look at these. Mario doing odd jobs. Okay, cool. I'll do that.
You're kind of the Mario guy.
Yeah, so I mean, as far back as I can remember, I've never used this app before. As far back as I remember, I've been drawing, and it was just kind of like an obsession of mine. Like, it was, I was just always that kid in school who could draw, and
you were the drawer.
I was the drawer, as they would say, just the guy that knew how to draw. And I don't know, in a way that I think in my early years, I think it kind of gave me a little bit of sense of purpose, because like,
sure, yeah.
When you're young and you don't really know who you are yet or what you're going to be doing with your life, and here you are, suddenly all these people are circled around you, watching you draw. I remember as a kid that felt pretty good. I was like, whoa,
yeah,
people are interested in what I'm drawing. This is cool. And I remember in primary school, as we say in Australia, that my friend Justin and I, who I'm still good buddies with, back in Perth now, we started a comic book series that was literally just a bunch of folded A4 paper that
oh yeah, hell yeah,
that we would just
that's
staple.
What you do.
Yeah. And then we'd have like one issue, because like literally we weren't exactly we were mass producing them, so we would just pass the stapled issues around of this weird I don't know what to call it. What was it called again? Like superhero something or other. It was a bunch of like animals that were all superheroes. I don't really remember much about the premise of it. How do I erase? But I just remember that I was obsessed with making this weird comic about superhero animals. And it wasn't like furry stuff. They were all like goofy little cartoon penguins and stuff like that. But it was like really crude and violent because we wanted to, had a lot of swears in it. And we hid it from the teachers. But like we had a reader base that would like share the comics around.
You had a little street team.
How old were you when you were making those comics?
Oh, God. I would have been like... I'm trying to think right now. I would have been in grade 5 or 6. So grade 8 is 13. Math. Yeah.
Nice.
It's pretty early. Yeah, you got that hustle down already.
Yeah.
And then you started working in Flash animation pretty early on, I think, same as me.
Yes.
Whenabouts do you think that was? Like probably teenage years.
So I was when I went to high school, there was a my school swore by this now defunct program called what was it called? It was called Corel Rave, which was,
Hmm.
do you remember Corel Painter?
I
Was that,
sure do.
Oh my gosh, I do remember the software.
yeah, so Corel Rave was their attempt at trying to make a like their own version of Flash, and it was terrible. It was not a good program. It's not around
What was it
anymore.
called? Was it just
It's
like?
just called Corel Rave,
Oh wow. Okay.
and no one remembers it, as they
No,
shouldn't,
I don't know.
because it was terrible. But yeah, they my school swore that it was the industry standard for animation. Of course, it wasn't. It's just what they could afford.
Right.
When you're talking about school, like what grade are we in right now? Are we high school or are we
I
college?
would say high school. So yeah, it was early high school because I the reason that I'd gotten into the doing animation in Flash was that I had done a bunch of stuff in Corel Rave
Oh
as
wow.
a part of my high school. Am I allowed to draw nipples? Is that okay?
Yeah. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. Go off.
Okay, there we
I
go.
demand you draw nipples.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that so yeah, the school forced us to use this program, and then they also had this this work experience program that they did. So you would, like, if you weren't really looking to be a super academic student, which I wasn't, you could go and take one day of the week. I think it was Thursday, and you could go and just go and do work experience somewhere. So I applied at a bunch of like multimedia companies, like web design firms and stuff, and I actually got a work experience placement at this company. I can't remember the name of the company for the life of me, but I just remember that when I went to the interview, I showed them a bunch of my crappy Corel Rave animations, and they were just like, "Oh, can you use Flash?" And I was just like, "I want to," because I knew about Newgrounds, I knew what Flash was, but I thought it
Sure. Yeah.
was unobtainable because of how expensive it was. I didn't really
Mm.
know
Yeah.
like how I would go about getting it.
Hadn't heard of torrenting yet.
Yeah, I wasn't really aware of how people on Newgrounds had their copies.
Everyone stole it.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, I'm drawing Mario as a hooker. I don't.
I mean, follow your heart if that's where you
Yeah.
want to take it.
Anyway, or a juggalo. I guess that's whatever.
Interesting. Okay.
So anyway, yeah, I just my mom was like, okay, so they want you to learn Flash, huh? And I was like, yeah, I don't know where to start though. So my mom, like, she's super mom. Like, she's very, if my mom sets her heart to something, she'll go and she'll figure it out.
Hmm.
So she went on a quest to find a way for me to learn how to use
Oh, what a
Flash.
good mom.
Yeah.
Man, shit.
So she
Mhm.
found this place. It was like a community college, and they were doing like a 12-hour course on the introduction to Macromedia Flash 5, I think it was at the time. And yeah, anyway, the what happened was I got in, even though I was like 13 at the time. They allowed me to come because they saw that I really, really wanted to learn. Which was unusual because someone of my age at the time, like it wasn't something they normally did. So they were happy to have me, and I just went and I did this 12-hour course, and it just it taught me the basics. It taught me how to like motion tween, how to do a button in Flash, like all the stuff you would need to do like a really basic Newgrounds cartoon.
Sure.
And then when my work experience placement started, it was they didn't really have much for me to do, so I just spent all my days in work experience just fiddling with Flash until I made like a really goofy cartoon about like my OC, which was actually Rubber Ninja, which is where it comes from, which is just a bouncy ninja that I would draw fighting my friend's OC, which was a pair of sentient underpants that flew around. It was really weird, but it was like it was like a Dragon Ball Z like fight because I was so into
Hell yeah.
DBZ. We
Yep.
said we would talk about DBZ at some point during this
Hey,
podcast.
we'll come back to
We'll
it.
come back to it, yeah. But anyway, I very much was super hyped to like work on just anything, and I just kind of just stuck with it and made a bunch of goofy Flash cartoons. And I think it took 2 work experience placements before I had someone finally say to me like, "Oh, you should try put something on Newgrounds." But that seemed so intimidating at the time. I was like, "Oh, there's no way I could do that. That's hard." but eventually, yeah, I
Newgrounds was the was the scary place to go.
yeah, for sure.
Honestly, for real though, I remember because I posted on Newgrounds a little bit too, and yeah, I was aware of you on Newgrounds at the time because you often
Mhm.
made front page, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that my first front page would have been when I was like, oh God, I would have been 17, I think,
Oh
something like
wow.
that.
I think I remember the first time I remember seeing your name was in the Van Helsing
Oh my God. Oh God.
compilation.
People bring that up, and I'm like, when I'm streaming, they're like, when are you gonna finish Van Helsing? And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, you mean
come
my
on.
parody of Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing movie hit that everybody
Yeah.
still talks about? Yeah. I don't know why I made a parody of that movie specifically. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you at
Yeah.
all. But
Just felt right. It was that time.
yeah, it was that time. I mean,
But yeah, I remember all the cartoons were like, I don't know, like when you looked at the front page, I mean, when you were a teenager, those looked really good. It was like, just like, oh, I can't, I'm not allowed to post on this website.
yeah, it was intimidating for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I just, oh man, that's so funny you bring that up. It's actually interesting. A friend of mine, who I play Among Us with, Altrive,
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to him, just like, yeah, I'm about to go on this podcast. He's like, oh, whose podcast? And I was like, oh, Gene. And he goes, fucking Gene. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, tell him I love Hyperboy. And I was like, yeah, right on, man. And he's like, you tell him he's got to draw Hyperboy. And I was like, I'll
Oh
do it.
shit.
He's got to draw Hyperboy.
You know what? I'll do it. I'll do it now.
It's so
Yeah, that
funny.
was actually the first time I got introduced to you, your Newgrounds cartoon.
Through Hyperboy? Yeah.
Yeah, Hyperboy. Yeah.
I don't think we met. I mean, I don't think we ever interacted online. I remember we met once
Mm-hmm.
at Wizard World.
Yeah, I think it was in. Oh.
Whenever you came to America.
Yeah, I was visiting at the time.
That was a long. That was a long fucking time. I think that was like 2008.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, that's funny. I will draw Hyperboy. But yeah, I mean, you did a shitload of stuff while you were on there, and a lot of it very notable.
Yeah, it was a very good part of my life, I'd say. I very much enjoyed, just kind of doing whatever. And I mean, back then, you remember it. It wasn't like how content creation is now.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't making money off it. I mean, maybe I'd get
Fuck
the
no.
odd, like, they had like cash pools for every month. Like if you got the highest scoring whatever for the month, and maybe you'd win like $400 or $200 or something like that. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
I got an Xbox 360 with that money at one point.
Nice.
I
That's
was
a win.
stoked about that. Yeah, but it wasn't it wasn't really for profit kind of thing,
No. Yeah, just for the love of it.
It was very much just, we were there just to pursue our passion, which was to create cartoons. And I think that's it. Yeah, like right now, I don't know, it's a very different landscape to what it was back then. Like
It's a little tainted. I think we talked about it a little bit before because we had Yotam on the show.
mm-hmm.
And it sucks that, like, with the way that YouTube is, and I remember you've had very impassioned speeches about it on YouTube
Mm-hmm,
before, about how, like, the algorithm just has completely fucked any kind of mode of expression because it favors long form, and, like, good luck to any animators that are trying to, like, make a living off
and some
of it. It's
people
just,
still try, and I power to them.
man, yeah.
It's tough. I mean, animation can still get great views on YouTube, 100%.
Yeah.
But something that's like a long production cycle, it doesn't and won't really make much money, unfortunately, because like the junk food content like that you can produce, regularly. And I'm not trying to call other content junk over. I mean just stuff that can be produced fast.
Oh boy, here we go. This is where it all goes.
Yeah. I don't want people to mistake what I mean by that.
You're gonna get canceled. No, it's fine.
So like I get it. I've been on both sides of that fence, doing gaming content and doing animation content.
I was gonna say, like, I've seen a lot of animators have to take on Let's Player roles and sort of do streaming because like that's how everything is rigged up, and it's actually pretty impressive how like indie animators have managed to pivot to create a sustainable model for themselves to keep making money, but then also try to do their own animation. Yeah. Unfortunately, and I'm sure you can you can talk about this, that it's like when you
Yeah.
do that full time, it's really hard then to have any energy for animating and producing
Yep.
your own
Oh, for
animation.
sure. I mean, this year, with how everything's been, I've been like, I mean, I've talked about it on stream. I've just been creatively drained. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't been doing much art or animation this year, and it sucks to say that out loud. Like, it's just been a bummer of a year. And for me, like, I realize, people have 9 to 5s, and the animation industry is largely like, all working from home.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
My girlfriend works from home, and she's on animation productions now, but like she she's still going about her business, and I'm kind of in this position where it's like, oh, like, nothing, I don't really have any reason to be doing any drawing or art right now. And like, it's that sucks to say. Like, I've been kind of, I don't know, because like for me, when I do art and I do animation, it's very isolated. And I know it would be for everybody this year, because not everybody's working out of a studio right now.
Yeah, sure.
But I would need a little bit of escape from that space. And right now it's very much like there is no escape. So it's not really like, how do I put this?
Oh, do you mean like you're so isolated when you're making art that like you want to have the idea, like the perspective of like breaking out of that bubble, but like because of how the year is right now, there's no breaking out of this bubble?
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, this year has just been really hard for me, because like, when I spend like 12 hours, I sometimes draw, animate for 12 hours a day at home by myself, and then after that I'll be like, well, I've been doing this all day, I want to get outside and do something just to kind of clear my head. I don't have that now. And the thought of just day in, day out working by myself and doing every part of the pipeline, it sounds really draining.
It does.
Yeah, and that was actually something that I kind of wanted to ask you, was when you're creating animated content, like, do you always do it all by yourself, or do you ever like kind of like produce it, as in like ask other artists to help out, or kind of what's your process?
Generally by myself, but cartoon I did at the start of this year, Social Monsters one, I did get help with that. My girlfriend did some backgrounds. I had another friend help with cleanup.
Yeah.
2 friends, actually.
How do you feel about that? It was like, because that was great, and then it seems like you probably just didn't have the energy to do anything else after that.
Yeah, it was also a bit of an experiment, because I wanted to see what I could do in a shorter, how long a cartoon could I make in a shorter period of time? Because when you look at YouTube right now and what's successful, a lot of it is stuff that has a smaller production cycle.
Right.
Like the storytime stuff, which resonates really well, because it's a very personality driven ecosystem on YouTube now. Like a lot of the stuff that's big is very personality heavy, right? Rather than satire or narrative or whatever it may be. So I was just kind of in this headspace of like, let's see what I can make in like how long a cartoon I can make in like 4 months, let's just say. It's pretty long, honestly, still pretty long, but I think I did 8 or 9 minutes. But I decided I'm going to keep it really limited, and just see what I can create. And it was interesting, because I can tell you that it was not financially viable still. I did a lot of the production of it on Twitch and then posted on YouTube. And I can say that, oh my God, I think like the YouTube video itself probably made about $700.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And
for 4 months of work.
Yeah. So it just kind of it was a bit of a moment of me just going like, huh, it's like nothing's changed, but for it to change, I would have to really make a big sacrifice and just keep going until it's financially viable. And I'm not young. I got rent to pay in California. So it's kind of like that moment of like, well, I'm making like 6 times that amount playing Among Us on Twitch. It's like,
yeah, it's hard to turn down.
And then when I'm animating, I make like less than a quarter of that. So it's like, because like people don't stick around to watch people animate on Twitch, and so it's a rock and a hard place when it comes to producing that. And I still haven't found what the what I think is going to be the natural middle ground for doing art and animation. as content.
Yeah.
I really do want to find it. I'm not sure what it is yet.
Do you feel like, I feel like with the audience that you have for your streaming, is there not a way to sort of work it out where like just from streaming the work you're doing, you're getting that sort of like Twitch revenue and everything, and that helps fund the animation?
Yeah, I think the big problem is just time. Like,
Mhm.
how do I put this? So when it comes to doing stuff on Twitch, you have your audience who are subscribed, and they get the emoticon pack that comes with your channel.
Right.
And if you're not actively doing streams that those users want to engage with, they're less likely to use their let's say Prime subs or renew their tier 1 subs. So Prime subs being the if you're not familiar with Twitch, the free subs you get one free sub per month if you have Amazon Prime and you've connected your Twitch account to your Prime account. Then you can pick a streamer for that month that you give your free sub to, but they get all the benefits of as if it was a normal sub, basically. So let's say I stream art, or I'm just working on animations or whatever it may be for that month, and people will be like, "Oh no, I love art streams." It's like, no, I know you do, but the data that I have shows the opposite.
Right.
The opposite,
Yeah.
like 300%, 400% opposite. And it sucks to say, and it's a real downer.
It is.
But it's just trying to find the balance of like the time that I can have to grow my Twitch, which has been growing steadily this year because I've been putting a lot of time into it, and also still have time to pursue animation stuff. So it's a weird tightrope I've been doing. And I think that in my head, I'm like, well, I'm not getting any worse at drawing. God, I hope not. So it's like,
I don't think so.
I like to think that, I put in the time to build up an audience on Twitch, that the more of an engaged audience I have from other stuff, that they'll stick around once I, maybe next year decide to do a little bit more art in Twitch than just gaming. That's hopeful. I know there's lots of artists, like for instance, I can think of, some of the bigger gamers who are also artists, like Lily Pichu and all that. Like they do art, and it performs great because, people love their personality and they stick around for that.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it's this is a weird time to be doing a podcast with me, because I've been in a real rut lately. An artist block, let's say.
I think, well, that's the best. I was going to say that's the best time, because I think, I'm sure I've talked about it on the show before, but if I haven't, like, when V and I started the show, it was just something for us to do, really, because everyone has been in this slump, and it really helped me. I mean, even just sitting down and doodling with friends for an hour and a half or whatever, like, once, twice a week has like been super helpful.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I think that, like, we want to hear different stories, and we want to hear just different people's approaches. And one of the reasons I wanted to get you on, other than I think just you're an entertaining, interesting guy, is that like your experiences are very unique in that you were a Flash animator, and then you got all this success through streaming, through Let's Plays. And so hearing that perspective is interesting, because like I've been trying to solve that problem. I'm sure a lot of people are trying to solve the problem you're describing.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that it's like even somebody who I consider to be, at the head of the class as far as like viewership, can't maintain a living off of just doing animation. Like, it's just not sustainable.
I mean, I have friends who do, but like, how do I put this? Like, for instance, my friend Jaden, right? Like, we tour on Scribble Showdown and all that. And, she does amazing. Like, she's one of the biggest animators. Her, James, Domix, all them, they're like some of the biggest animators now on the platform. And they found a really good way early on to adjust their content to what was expected via the algorithm, and it worked really well and meshed with it really well. And like I said, it was personality driven, which is what the platform what the platform kind of expects at this point.
I was gonna ask you a little bit, like, if we can get back to your life story.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No problem. No, I just like to kind of like ask questions like related to kind of like so you started on Newgrounds when you were in high school.
Yes.
And how was kind of like your transition from Newgrounds to YouTube? Kind of like, how did that happen? Were you on both platforms, or did you just one day, or are you still uploading on Newgrounds now?
Not now. So one of the reasons that I stopped uploading on Newgrounds, it's a little unfortunate, but the reason being is that, you know, I would sign with an MCN that would have the right to run ads on my content, right? But there are clauses in those contracts that mean that they have the right to advertise on your content, but that's within the platform of YouTube. So
Oh shit.
if I post it on YouTube first and then post it on Newgrounds, that's technically a breach of contract. And I mean, it's not the case now anymore, but it was kind of this thing of like, oh shit, I don't want to lose my partnership with this company or whatever it may be. And that was I'm talking years ago.
Right.
So it just kind of like, and also like those views on Newgrounds, unfortunately, would potentially take away views that were, you know, sustaining me, because that's where the money was coming from. And it sucks to say, because I owe a lot to Newgrounds. I really do.
Sure.
And I'm forever thankful to Tom and the team and everybody there that, you know, gave us the platform we needed when we were, you know, young teens.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just think I just kind of drifted away from it. I don't know. Yeah. It sucks to say out loud. Because I still really care about Tom and, you know, what he's doing.
Yeah.
And obviously I wish Newgrounds the best. I just I don't know how to.
Especially now with Flash being kicked out of Chrome, it's getting harder and harder to sustain a living off of just Newgrounds, or, you know, like I said, like just even animation. So
would you say, like, kind of, how old were you when you kind of made the switch over to YouTube?
I would say I was about 23, 24-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
After high school, did you go to college for art? Was that something that you considered?
Yeah, I tried college briefly. I dropped out. It didn't really work for me. But yeah, I don't know. I found that I felt more comfortable kind of figuring out things on my own. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, here's the thing about learning, right? You don't know what you don't know. So if you want to be an autodidact and like teach yourself, it is difficult, because it's a longer road, because you're going to make some wrong turns down that path.
Sure.
But I feel like with online communities and, you know, social media now, you can join like a Discord community full of people who do like crazy Sakuga animation. And then, you know, like this kid that might have otherwise made a lot of mistakes for a really long time is pointed in the right direction by just some Joe Schmo on a Discord community, like, who is also, you know, like it's like the knowledge is more free now, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, we've said that on the show before, that it's like, if you have to go to school, if you feel like your parents are, you know, especially if they're helping you pay for it, and you feel like that's a good path for you, by all means. But it's like nobody needs it anymore. And like,
true,
if you can build a community or become part of a community and build your own skill sets. And I mean, the sheer amount of talent that I see on like Twitter, where it's just
Absolutely.
like, I'm 15, and then they draw this like amazing masterpiece, and it's like, fuck you,
boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's like I was doing Hyperboys when I was 15.
Yeah, like the age and skill I'm seeing on Twitter these days is just, it boggles my mind. It really does.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we were doing wrong, but I think the next generation of web animator is gonna be like just unbelievable. It already is unbelievable, to be honest.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, well, there's two things I wanted to say about that. Like, I think that the knowledge base builds on top of each other. So it's like, what we knew, we were working with shitty tools, like, you know, Macromedia Flash MX or whatever the fuck. And so we didn't even have proper like symbols. Like there's a lot of stuff that Animate has now. And I mean, Harmony is miles above anything that Adobe puts out. Yeah. But yeah, it's just they have more access to more tutorials, to better resources, and so like of course it'll be better. But yeah, I think that it's just when you're born into social media, you're kind of more or less, you know, if you're like more used to it, I think they just think differently and they learn faster, they make connections faster, and we were just weird 14-year-old kids that were like,
I mean, when we were like, all of us were pretty much the same age, right? Like
yeah.
when we were 14, like I remember when I was 14, I did not really have access to the internet.
Mm.
Like actually, hold on, I did get a
Oh,
computer when I was around
did that.
maybe 15. So I feel like now, like it's just that the technology is just more available, and at the time there wasn't even social media, or Newgrounds was like, when did it get funded? Like founded? How do you pronounce that word? Like
Like
Yeah,
1993. Like it's
it's
been right.
pretty
It was a
old.
Neo
really?
Geo fan website
Mm-hmm.
initially.
But I was gonna say, like, I mean, I feel like I didn't really become aware of like Newgrounds until I was like probably 15, and
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I didn't even figure out how like that you could animate, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, like
Sure.
you get a computer, you see animation online, and then it's like you have to make that connection. They're like, oh, this is actually something I can do. And getting a tablet was like such a, I don't know, like there was not a whole lot of tablets at the time. I feel like now, like when you walk into a store, like you're gonna see Wacoms like in
Oh
like
yeah.
at Best Buy or whatever, you know. But like at the time, it was just kind of like this artifact of like that was like a mysterious thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, you're right, 100%.
That first tablet is like your first sword you get.
Yeah.
And it's like a rusty, shitty sword, like a bamboo, not even bamboo, it was a graphite. It was like
Mine was Intuos 2, and I had it for 7
oh,
years,
you had a
Ah.
fancy
I
one.
think.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Intuos was like one of the better ones. But yeah, so you went to, you attempted going to college, but I assume that at that point you had some momentum doing animation online.
Yeah, it just didn't seem worth it, honestly. So
Sure.
I just
Right.
went out on my own, and twas better, let's just say. I'm glad I did, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't regret it at all. My path was a weird one. I think an unusually unique one, because like I was kind of thrust into like the gaming sphere of YouTube. I wasn't really
Hmm.
expecting that at all.
How did you get thrown into that sphere? Like,
Gaming content was just kind of blowing up on YouTube, and Game Grumps had just started, and I was kind of there for the, I guess, conception of that. Like I was
Hmm.
literally on the couch when John and Aaron initially just talked about doing it. I think our friend Zan was there too, and they were just like talking about doing a podcast, and I was sitting there. It
At the time, like Let's Play wasn't I mean, it was sort of a thing.
was around, but it wasn't like a two-person Let's Play of that format. That was kind of more of like a
Yeah.
two-man act. Was less common. It did exist, but there weren't a lot of them. It wasn't so saturated as it is now.
Right.
So yeah, what happened was it just kind of started really fast, and then Danny and I were talking about doing a show that was going to be like semi affiliated with Game Grumps, but as as the as John left Grumps, then it
Sure.
kind of became this moment of like, well, Aaron wanted Dan to replace John, and then Steam Train obviously got absorbed fully, like because we were like thinking maybe second channel, or like we weren't really sure, and it just got fully absorbed. So we're like, all right, so this is how things are going to be. Yeah, it just kind of, it was going to be like a side project, much how like Game Grumps was just a side project. Like we had the idea for Steam Train going before, or I think during the conception of Game Grumps. Like it was kind of talked about long before Game Grumps was a channel, basically.
Right.
Obviously, it launched at a heated time where people were looking to blame anyone for their favorite funny Let's Play man leaving the show.
Sure.
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, that must have been hard. That must have been.
Like I think about it now, and I'm just like, so stupid, so stupid. Like I can't believe I even gave a shit or cared. It was ridiculous.
That's the internet.
like how old were you when that went
Oh
down?
man, 25, I think, maybe.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
it's like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like in like early 20s where I don't know, everything is, you know, it's just like you're still sort of writing off like those teenage years when like when you're a teenager, everything is the most important thing that is
Right.
Oh
happening.
yeah.
And then you're like in your early 20s and you're like a little bit more mature, but it's still very important.
That's stressful, yeah. I
Yeah.
can't, dude. I can't imagine honestly. But even if that happened now, and I suddenly had all this shit dumped on me, like
Yeah.
I would have to, talk to my therapist about it. Like it
Oh
would
yeah.
definitely be
I have a therapist.
difficult.
It was great.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say about that. Like
sure.
therapy, great.
Can you talk about like Game Overse at all? Like sort of where that's at?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, like what to say. I mean, we have like a pitch package done. We've got a watchable animatic of the first episode or like the pilot episode. Like you can watch the entire thing. It's like a 30-minute whole extravaganza. It's great.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it. Yeah, it looks great.
Got, I think Chad. Chad helped write it.
Of course, yeah.
Who's
Chad
done a
Cohen.
lot of work in animation. I'm trying to think of everything he's done. Troll Hunters,
I don't know what has it been announced? Like
the Lego show. God, what is it called? Oh my God, I should know this.
which one? The Monkey Boy one?
No, not the monkey one. The
Okay.
one about the Lego movie character, the unicorn. Unikitty.
Unikitty.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, he did write on Unikitty. I know what he was on most recently, but I don't know if he
Yeah,
wants us to say.
yeah. So like we had, we've got like Chad, he won an Emmy for
Yeah,
Troll Hunters. So
he
like
definitely
we had
won an Annie.
Annie. That's right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never remember.
I was there for that.
references.
Yeah.
So we had all this like really great, talent on the show, lots of really cool shit. And, start of the year comes around and then suddenly we're in a full-blown pandemic
Yup.
at the exact time we're supposed to go start pitching it.
But it doesn't mean that you can't pitch it though.
Oh no, we did.
Oh yeah?
But like literally the day of, I don't know if I should say what studio, but like day of big pitch, we're told that we can't come in because they're only allowing essential
Right.
personnel into the offices. So we had to kind of just like get together, like a video pitch, I guess.
Oh, they wouldn't like have you on a Zoom call or something?
Yeah. So we did a ton of pitches. They all seem to go well, as you know. I'm sure you've all been in pitches.
Mhm.
Sure.
I
Many.
think one of the more difficult things, because the nature of the show is, it's a show that's pretty heavily about video games.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
We found that it was very hard to kind of get across things to people. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Very
Yeah,
difficult.
that's so funny because we were like, just our guest from yesterday was just like telling us the same thing. Like exactly the same thing. When you have
Yeah.
like video
Yeah.
game references, it's really hard to
Yeah.
make them
Yeah.
get across.
Yeah, so like the show itself doesn't really have video game references, I guess you could say. It's more of like a theme for how do I put this?
I mean, it's its own world, and
Yeah, it's like an aesthetic for the show.
yeah.
Right.
Like we don't make video game jokes. It's very it's very much that it's not the backbone of the show. Like when Mario eats a mushroom, he gets bigger, but in real life mushrooms don't do
Right.
that. Like we don't do any of
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like obviously when you're in pitch meetings, there's a lot of questions about things like glitch text and Wreck-It Ralph, and just like, no, it's not like any of these things, but
yeah.
sure it is, whatever you want to hear.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah, so it's kind of just in this point now where I'm like still deciding, like, is this something that I want to pursue now as self-funded, or is this something I want to continue pitching? And it puts me in a real limbo, and this year hasn't helped at all.
Right.
Because like it's especially difficult when you have a completely watchable episode and you're like, okay, I know how much this thing is probably going to cost to make, and I'm just kind of at a fork in the road right now of like, how do I want to proceed,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
Yeah.
do I want to go for like a fan funding thing? Do I want to keep searching for the correct partner for it? But I believe in the project, and the people who worked on it are amazing. Like we had Crooked Glasses who helped with a lot of the art.
Mm-hmm.
Sarcis, we had oh my god, even more people that I haven't even mentioned that were a part of the project. which I probably won't mention because I think that's still a secret. But yeah, like it's something that I still very much believe in, and I think that as time goes on, and like I'm doing better and better on Twitch right now, and like I'm growing in YouTube, I could see that in like the not so distant future, I would probably just aim to self-fund it if we just can't find a partner. Because here's the thing, you think that all that success from YouTube and like that's clearly like tangible would help you in a pitch room. Weirdly not.
Oh yeah?
That's what I was gonna ask, because like to me, yeah, like I said earlier, like I feel like you guys are like, you have such a huge viewership and you have so many numbers, and for some fucking reason, studios just like don't want to admit that the internet is a thing.
Yeah,
and that like
right.
and it's so frustrating that you would go into a meeting and they wouldn't just be like, oh, clearly you're doing something right. Like, like it's okay to admit that the younger generation knows something that the execs in charge might not, and it's so fucking frustrating.
It is. It can be. Yeah. I mean, I truly do think that, how do I put this? Yeah, it is very difficult, and it's especially when it's something that's even more alien to these people than how do I say, like it's an alien thing. Like you're trying to talk to these people that video games are like, the last time they thought about video games was probably Donkey Kong or Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Like,
but I don't feel like, I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of Game Overs, and like I don't feel like there's anything about it that needs understanding of video games. Like it's not of any existing video games, and so to me it's strange that they wouldn't just say like, okay, this is something that clearly like kids would like because it's video game adjacent. It is an original thing, so it's not tied to anything. You don't need to get the rights for anything. It's not fucking Wreck-It Ralph.
But also, like, I feel like honestly, when you really think about it, though, it's like most of the content that's being created for kids is probably for kids who are not playing video games just yet. So for them, probably for execs, they're like, okay, great, like there's all these video games, but like maybe they want to hear references that are closer to more how should I put this, like to other movies or cartoons, not just because it's the same medium. So it's easier to understand like, oh, this like we're using medium A to kind of, that's gonna be similar to what we're making because it's also in the same medium. But like if we want to draw inspiration from a video game, that's like, you can do that, but it's like it's such a different medium that it's like, I don't know, I'm guessing that would be a reason.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I heard in the meetings was like, oh, like this property seems like it would really well like adapt to our interactive or like our games department, because like some of these studios, they they hear the pitch and are like, oh, this would also really work well into us trying to find properties that'll work well for our interactive departments like that. This might be the project. But obviously there's a lot of, how do I put this, like I think especially pitching something about video games, I found that there was a lot of people that had taken video game like pitches, then they'd said that, and even though I could probably explain to them why it's different and why it's not like these other ones they're bringing up for multitude of reasons, it's just very hard to communicate that to people. And then I look at things like Has Been Hotel and stuff where essentially doing the self-funding and just getting it out there basically acted as a market test to show that this is something that would kick ass and do good.
Right.
And then here you go. Now it's getting picked up as a show. So
I mean, you have that option. I think, if you get eyes on it,
that option's still open to us. I'm not, I'm not poo-pooing it or anything. Definitely worth considering. And I think once this insane year is over, then maybe it'll be a discussion. But right now it's like, we'll just take meetings as they come. And it sucks because, like I was very open about like what I'm working on and doing that, because like I don't really see any need to. I wasn't a big production studio and wasn't under NDA, like it was just, this is a thing I'm working on, and I worked on it, and it's like I know nobody knows anything about it, but it's just it's these things are difficult. It's very, very difficult.
They're so difficult.
But I have no reason to give up, because it's already at a point where, honest to God, if I just had the money, I could just get it made. Like it's the boarding's already done. It's like,
Yeah.
what else is there for me to do?
Yeah. Well, you'll figure it out.
Kill myself if I had to animate the whole thing myself, honestly.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, you've watched it. I've shown it to you, haven't I?
But yeah, chunks of it. I haven't seen the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So you already know how much it would kill to actually animate it as one person.
I do not think you should even. Yeah, it's. But the thing is, I think you're in a really good position to just maybe even do a small part of it, and
Yeah, I would of course want to do shots for sure.
And put it out there and do what Vivzy did. Like put it out there to get the response from the internet and the numbers, and then you have something more to say, because I've gone through that same pitch process. V has gone through the same pitch process, and like what they want to see is they want as low of a risk as possible,
of course.
And so like you can cheat that system. Like you can absolutely cheat that system by just showing like, yeah, I don't really care what you have to say, what you think about this, because here are the numbers, and here's like, we're bringing this huge audience to it already, and so you would be stupid not to greenlight this, to fund this.
Of course.
But I mean, it's harder. Yeah, it's easier said than done. So
but I mean, like I said, it's whatever form or shape this thing has to take, I'm confident it'll happen eventually. It's just sucks that like you really would think, you really do think that like going into a pitch meeting, like everything you've accomplished, or the numbers you have behind you, and it's like, hey, Game Grumps got this established audience, we have people are excited about this project, and we've got people who have like very prominent industry experience involved. Yeah, it's just kind of it's always difficult. It's always difficult.
I remember you came by Nickelodeon and I was showing you around, and like you mentioned something about how like you always wondered what it would be like to work there. And to me, I was like, motherfucker, I wish I could do what you do. Like to me, it was like interesting, because to me, I would love to go on that other side, that self-funded, sort of independent side. But everything you're saying, it's like, it's not any easier. It's probably even scarier, because you're completely in charge of like your own destiny.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that says it. Like, it is weird. It is weird. I'm not really sure how to put it into words, but maybe it's because I didn't sleep well today. But
none of us did, I think.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but let's talk about your influences and like what kind of stuff you grew up really loving, and this is when we can bring up Dragon Ball finally. But also whatever other stuff, and especially I love to hear like weird, unorthodox sort of inspirations that people have, and like things that you wouldn't expect or things that aren't common. Like that's the kind of shit I'd love to hear about.
Yeah, I mean, like Akira Toriyama, obviously big influence for me. I feel like a lot of people our age probably had some level of influence from the big man Toriyama. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think what else. I mean, growing up, like I loved, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Inspector Gadget, just to name a few. I think the time I realized I wanted to, do something with animation was actually, weirdly enough, wasn't a 2D show. It was actually a 3D show. I was watching Beast Wars.
Hell yeah.
And I was watching Beast Wars, and I remember looking at my mom, as like it would have been like 10 or 11. I just said to her, I was like, Mom, who makes this? She was like, oh, animators. I'm like, animators? She's like, yeah, this is their job. And in that moment, I was like, holy shit, what? And then there was like a Nickelodeon, I don't know what you call it, like
bumper
thing they put between cartoons.
Yeah, like a bumper. Yeah,
and it was like about the Nickelodeon studios and what it's like to work in Nickelodeon. And when you're an animator, you never have to grow up. And they're all shooting guns at each other.
God, they love that.
No way, they get Nerf guns. Like,
yeah,
shit, like that's rad. So like. I remembered seeing that and just kind of going, whoa. And weirdly, I had a conversation with Aaron. I brought up that same video, and we ended up looking it up on YouTube, because he also got hyped about animation because of that video, which seems like so just inconsequential as a video, but it apparently had a lot of impact on people, because I even played it in Australia, so I'd seen it too.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. I was curious if there was anything from your time in Australia, from going up there, that was like, you know, American audiences might not even know about it, or just weren't as exposed to it.
I wouldn't say that it was influential, but I could say it was something I watched. We have a show that I've brought up, I think a few times. I think I brought it up on Game Grumps a few times, which was a show called Little Elvis.
Okay.
It's not good, but
Okay.
the premise of the show is that, without saying his name, they imply that Elvis had an illegitimate love child.
Oh no.
And he was driving through the outback during his tour, and he just fucking dumped the baby in a guitar case at the front of some truck stop, and a couple ended up taking in the kid.
Oh no.
And they swore, because a Cadillac was leaving the vicinity of their gas station, their live work gas station, that this kid must be the offspring of Elvis Presley. So they called him Little Elvis, because they supposed he was the son of the king.
That's so funny.
And he starts a band called the Little Truck Stoppers and Elvis Jones. And that's the whole premise of the show.
I gotta look this up.
The song is, if you aren't from Australia, the song is just unintelligible. Like, it's very heavy Australian accent. It's like, they call me Little Elvis. They say I'm the son of the king. Like, you can't understand a word he's saying if you don't have listened to it.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking at I don't know what this is. It might be like a vinyl cover, but it says,
just look up Little Elvis opening.
I looked up, well, I like this because there's like a starburst thing, and there's some text in it, and it says hot digibilly. And I have no idea what the fuck that could mean. It sounds very Australian.
Probably.
Hot digibilly.
I think if you look up the opening, the all the comments say thanks, Ross, because the last time anybody watched it was when I mentioned it on Game Grumps.
Right.
Like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Maybe it'll get rebooted.
I hope not.
Because of all that traffic, they'll be like, oh shit.
Maybe this is the property that we need to put all our money into.
You gotta bring back Little Elvis. You gotta, fuck Gameoverse.
Yeah, bring back Little Elvis.
You should make a pitch packet for Little Elvis and be like, look, this is the shit.
Honestly, it's a good name.
Little Elvis Cinematic Universe incoming.
It's a very good name. Elvis is hot. We can bring back Elvis.
That's all we care about now. It's just hot cartoon characters.
It's just, we gotta, God, it really is. But yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball's the shit.
Yes, I love Dragon Ball. I
think just knowing what I know about Gameovers, it's like very shonen inspired, very sort of.
For sure. What was I gonna say? I you know me, big weeb, love Toriyama. What else?
Are there like also, you can go outside of animation, like are there comic books or like even literature or like, well, obviously video games, like if there's like a video game.
Yeah, I mean video games are obviously a big influence. I'm trying to think what specifically. I mean, I love RPGs, love fantasy, I love Tolkien. I love, like, I don't know. I mean, mostly animation. I would say mostly animation. Like, just cartoons are my lifeblood. I just care about cartoons a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, my girlfriend has a hard time trying to get me to sit down and watch a live action show because I have very particular tastes.
Yeah, me too. I have a hard time. There's so much stuff out there and people keep recommending things to me, and I'll watch an episode and I just like can't muster up the excitement. Like I don't know. There's something about live action dramas that are just like,
it's just so funny. My boyfriend is the same. It's like he doesn't want to watch any show. He doesn't want to watch any drama except anime or Venture Brothers. Like we've been watching all of Venture Brothers.
That's because it's fucking sick.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. How about we ask some questions?
Can I quickly? I'm just gonna quickly go to the bathroom.
Go for
real
it.
Quick. I'll be right.
We'll edit this out. Piss edit.
Mm-hmm.
Over.
Oh, I actually do want to ask you something
Mhm.
before we move into the questions, like because usually like the third part is like I have it under like personal life, which is like personal projects and goals and like hobbies and philosophy. But I also want to ask you kind of like if you want to talk about it, like how was it for you to move from Australia to the US?
Hmm.
Pain in the ass. The end.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, are there like also like I was wondering if there was like cultural differences that you noticed between like Australia and the US? Like, I'm like
Yeah.
I'm interested in that because I'm French and I moved
Oh,
out here.
yeah, I get you. I get you. Yeah, just certain phrases and just things that are kind of common to an Australian, like when you say like, what's a good example? You'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll give it a go," um,
Mm-hmm.
which basically means, "Yeah, I'm going to do it." It seems dismissive, but in Australia, that's just basically saying, "Yes, I'm going to do that right now," or
Yeah.
I don't know, like small things like "It's in the boot," which means it's in the trunk.
Yeah, the trunk of the car.
I'm trying to think, like just small things that always caught me with my pants down, basically. I mean, my parents were both Irish immigrants, so at home it was harty tarty tar potato potato.
Yeah.
So, like my accent, even back in Australia, was very bastardized and mixed and weird. Certain
Mm.
words I
Yeah.
said, people would actually wonder if I was American, but I think a part of that comes from the fact that the American accent is actually derivative of the Irish accent. So certain
Mm.
pronunciations can sound a little American.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
weird. Sometimes when Americans are overseas, some people mistake them for being Irish. It does weirdly happen. Oh, hi, Kitty. Oh, sorry, cat came to say hi. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I found I adapted very fast to living in the United States, and oh, sorry, my cat is jumping up trying to nudge my microphone. Stop.
Say hello.
Hey, no, I said hello to him, but he does this thing where he wants my attention. He knows that if he bops my microphone, that I'll
Oh.
stop what I'm doing to give him attention because
Yeah, push
he
to
knows
talk.
it gets in the audio, not the cut.
Oh.
But he's cute.
This is all staying in. This
Yeah.
this cat time.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I, honestly, not too huge, a difference. I'd say. Didn't have too hard a time adjusting to the United States, other than learning to drive on the other side of the road and becoming an ambidextrous
Oh
driver.
God.
That was difficult, but yeah, no,
Right.
not too different.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, let's go into questions. At Mystery Who asked character design question for Ross. Do you come up with stories before making characters, or do you make the stories / situations for your characters after? I guess that's
Ooh,
really more of a question for everyone. All right, yeah, you go first.
I've gone both ways, honestly. Like, like I've had an idea for a character with just the concept of like what role they fill and who they're connected to and what their backstory is, and then I've designed a character based around that, right? So I knew what should be prominent within the design. But then there's been other times where I've just like drawn a character that like with a really vague thing, like let's just say a space marine or something like that. And then when I'm done drawing it, I'm like, oh, how would this fit into the story? And then I
Sure.
think about it more, and I'm like, oh, this actually solves a lot of problems. Oh, this actually would fit really well into this thing I've been thinking about. And then it just kind of goes from there. So I think it can go both ways. One I would say is more improvised, and one I would say is more precise. If that
Mhm.
makes any sense.
Sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of depends on like what you're going for, I guess. If like one
True.
is like, oh, you're more like plot driven, and the other one is like you're more like character driven, I guess.
Yeah. True.
I think I generally come up with characters first. I'm reading the question to see how it was structured. Do I come up with stories before making characters? Do you make the stories? Yeah, I think I like characters first. I tend to. That's actually a problem for me. Is that like I have a hard time coming up with the connecting tissue, but I love the world building and like the just the character dynamics more than anything. But that's, I think everyone has a hard time with the like the actual stories. Like that's the part that is usually the most gut-wrenching, is you have to like actually sit and write, and you have to like figure things out. The fun part is the like goofing off and like, well, this character is friends with this character, and like this is their power set. Like that's always the shit that's the most fun, is like, well, this is like their powers and this is that. But you're actually pretty good at just coming up with situations.
I don't know. I feel like for me, like I've been thinking about writing for a while, I guess like a couple years, just because I've always wanted to write stories, but I like kind of like you, like I would have characters, I would do the world building, but then I'm like, I could write a plot that was going from A to B to C, and then I was just like, but why is this so boring? Like I'm spending so much time on the story and I still think it's boring. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're reading like manga or like you're watching TV shows, you're always hooked. And I was just like, I just want to be able to do that. And I guess like recently I've just been like thinking, I don't know. I think for me, I don't know if this sounds crazy or what, but like I think when I started going to therapy, it's like, and I started like understanding myself a little better, and then I started understanding other people better. Like, you know, like there's a moment when you like you think you understand other people, and then you kind of like go to therapy, and then it unlocks like this whole like other world. You're like, whoa, wait, hold on. There's like this whole other interactions that play on another level that I was kind of like blind to this whole time, kind of thing. And I feel like for writing that was like really helpful, because then I was like, oh, like I can actually like now I can understand conflict better. Like there isn't just one type of conflict. You can
once you start digging into all that like all that juice under the surface, all the anxieties and traumas and things, that's like you really get into some juicy stuff.
I have also experienced that. Yeah, I've been through therapy, and I found that being able to, you know, understand why a character might be the way they are because of their upbringing, and how like they might have rebelled against something that, you know, the part of their upbringing, versus that maybe they adopted something from their upbringing, or like how those things could mix and create, you know, personalities. Understanding that is really, really important to creating a believable character, I think.
I agree with this so much, because before I always felt like I was creating cool designs, but they were like empty shells. And then after now I can actually create characters that are, and you know what's funny? Like now I actually create characters that are more like mundane looking. Like I'm more attracted to characters that are more mundane, because what's going on inside is more interesting, like what I can create. And then it's like a mystery too, because then like you can unravel that through a story.
Right.
But I guess I was gonna say, I guess now I would be more creating a story first before I create a character. But then recently, like 2 weeks ago, I don't know, I created this like Rodney character. That's like so stupid, but it's like, I really like it. He's more design based. I was just like drawing this like really creepy character, and I'm like, he's so creepy. What could I do with them? And then I was like, oh, he could just be like this really annoying neighbor that's everyone is like really afraid of. And so that one was like design based before I'd like,
Something that I've kind of been trying to do more is like figure out how to make a character's expression or like their sort of default face tell a lot about them. And so I'm almost in the opposite camp, where I'm trying to drift away from making a character look bland on the surface, because like it's more fun for me to come up with the rest of the story if I feel like a character carries some interesting baggage like on their face. Like if they're always drawn grumpy, that like is a lot more, that's more of a response to my own like problems with coming up with characters, because a lot of my main characters are always just like spunky. It's like they make the face, you know, where they're like one eyebrow up and they're smiling angrily. Like that is my default for so many main characters, a lot that nobody has ever seen. But it's like I'm trying to break out of that and find more interesting dynamics.
Main characters are so hard to write, though. Creating an actually like, you know, I don't think like, okay, I'm a sucker for like shonen protagonists, so of course like some of my favorite characters are gonna be like Asakura Yo is like, I'm like, oh, he's the best. But like even Naruto and Luffy, I love them, even though they're like they're kind of bland when you like think about them. But like
Well,
besides
yeah.
besides these characters, it's really hard to pick a show that you're like, oh, the main character of that show is like chef's kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to identify. They're supposed to be boiled down to almost a single character trait, and so you're like you always know how they're going to react to everything. Like that's kind of I think what a main character carries is that like they need to be understood at a glance, and that's why they can be boring. But yeah, a good supporting cast is important. You want to ask the next question?
Yep. So from Sam Weller. I'd ask him if he sees a certain style of animation he thinks is on the come up for indie creators. Format, animation, technique, etc. What do you think, Ross?
I think that one that's kind of coming out of left field that nobody's really thinking about is animation that has been done. Like think of how you would animate in Maya, right? Where there are programs kind of coming out of the woodwork now that allow you to use the similar pipeline about keying out your animation, but inside of virtual reality. And I've seen more and more of these programs kind of crop up, and they're really interesting. There's a few examples online of, of exactly that, and I don't know. It's some of the stuff that people have made in virtual reality programs actually fascinating. Like so, I wish I had an example handy because I've seen them on Twitter and I'm just like, wow, this was keyed out in VR. Like that's crazy. So, and also for like 3D modeling purposes, because imagine how, someone might have been a sculptor, and then for like monsters and like traditional VFX in films, right? And then 3D comes along, and suddenly you need to learn all this CGI stuff. Well, then virtual reality comes along, and then suddenly all that stuff you would have known about being, using your hands to sculpt something, I think in the next 10 years will be applicable again, because you'll be able to use your hands inside a virtual space to sculpt clay.
Yeah.
And then, I think the same goes for puppetry. I think that that's going to be the next exciting medium for, as an animation tool. It's really a race to see who's going to perfect it first, honestly.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I had never thought of that. Like puppetry is like a really cool way to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, you actually first, I think, introduced me to VR. You're probably the first person who showed me VR, and like it definitely blew my mind. But now I didn't, it was a short little burst, and the past like month I've been messing around with PSVR, and now I'm like, I kind of want to get into some real shit. But it's like it's expensive to do it, with a Vive and everything. I don't have a good PC, so I have to get that. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole market that's growing, and it's like when it all clicks into place, it's gonna be fucking amazing. It's gonna be so cool.
It's got a ways to go, and there's definitely like I'm a huge VR enthusiast. But like there's things like Facebook owning Oculus and stuff, and if you look at if you look at the they've got like facial tracking now, like they've experimental cameras that actually are inside the headset that scan your face and then do all the facial tracking. So like you have one-to-one facial expressions, micro expressions, everything inside of a virtual space with your friends during a pandemic or the next pandemic, let's just say. Like I think there's a lot of potential there. I think it's still very, very much in its infancy and it's a little crude. But yeah, I definitely think for creative endeavors, it has a lot of potential. But yeah, like I said, someone just needs to be the first one to pull the trigger on a really good software package that will be easy to adjust to, maybe even easier to learn, because obviously if you're just sculpting with your fingies rather than a complicated UI, it might be a little easier to.
I do wish that they would. That's the one thing. Like I wish that they would figure out how to do gloves with VR, like so you can have not even necessarily tactile feel, like that would be great. That'd be amazing. But even just being able to move fingers individually would be like,
That you can.
really? Is that already a thing? I guess I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, that's the I mean the Valve Index currently has finger tracking. Like,
Damn.
and also the Oculus Quest 2 has a camera inside the headset that tracks your fingers.
No fucking way. Okay, because I've been considering getting an Oculus Quest 2 because it's self-contained and like I wouldn't have to get a PC. I didn't know that. That's
I will warn you though, and this
Yeah.
is I always give this warning to anyone who says they are considering getting a Quest
yeah.
or any Oculus products. Know that your Facebook account, because it's owned by Facebook now,
Right.
soon it will be mandatory to have your Facebook account connected to your Oculus account. And if your
Right.
Facebook account is using like a dumb name like Big Dickus or whatever the hell you might have put in it as a joke, that goes against the terms of services, and they will ban if your Facebook gets banned, your headset gets bricked.
What the fuck?
Wait,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
It basically means that you
Just won't
wasted
work.
$300 and you can't use the
What?
headset anymore. Yeah. A lot of people are really pissed about it.
That's insane.
But if that's not a problem and you just have your name on Facebook, you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I always warn people, is like, hey, if that's something you're
Sure.
serious about, you want to get that headset, you know that is like a big point of contention for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. I don't think I have. My name is not Big Dickus, but
Yeah.
but that is probably good to put out into the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
V, did you wanna give the shout out?
Oh yeah, so my sis who's like editing the podcast is a big fan.
Oh, right on.
And she said, just tell him that I said hi and I love his stuff, crying face, and
Aw.
his trolling. Hey, hey, hey.
Oh, thank you very much. What's their name?
Her name is Clemens.
Hi, Clemens. What's going on? Thank you for editing the podcast.
She is listening to all of this shit.
No, she's not listening to it right now, but when she'll edit
Not
the
right now.
podcast, she will. She's gonna freak out.
And then the last thing we wanted to ask, we kind of talked about creative block and all that. Unless you had something else you wanted to add about like how you get over a creative block.
Oh man, for this year, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. That's what I figured. We kind of talked about it.
Step away from it for a little bit if you have that option. It's kind of what I'm doing. But for the normal times, I just find creative block is best solved by watching stuff and absorbing stuff, and like everything is derivative. If you're not inspired, go watch something.
Right.
Maybe you'll find something there. It's
Right.
okay to come up with ideas based on other pieces of media. That's most of culture.
Sure.
How many times has the David and Goliath story been told, or whatever it may be? Like it's all derivative.
Yeah. Everything after the Bible is
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
derivative. What kind of goals do you have in mind for your future? Let's pretend that quarantine is not happening and we don't know what the fuck we're going to be doing in a year.
Finish Gameaverse.
Finish Gameaverse. All right.
Yeah, figure out what the hell we're gonna do, because it's a thorn in my ass. I need to get it done.
Right.
I'll figure it out somehow. It doesn't matter how long it's gonna take. I'm gonna get it done.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
You will.
Other than that, like I'm really enjoying streaming right now. I definitely want to keep that up, and I'm really enjoy streaming on Twitch. Like it's been really nice building up a community and just kind of just being myself and just having people hang out. It's a good time. I like genuinely love the company, and I look forward to it each day that I have to do it. So like that's been the positive of this year, just kind of having something to look forward to each day, or whatever it may be. So I guess I definitely want to build that presence, because building that presence also in the long run will likely help me build other things, be it able to fund projects or but yeah, that's a long road. I'm trying to think what else. I'd like to make a game someday.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, like I think game development, like I'm just wrapping up now a 40 level Mario Maker world, which basically means I used Mario Maker to make an entire game inside of Mario Maker. It's a really huge undertaking that took me most of this year, but like I very, very much am excited about the end result, because we're going to be wrapping up that mid this month. I keep putting it off had some collab levels I have to do for it. The last collab level right now, hopefully it's still the case by the time this has gone up, was going to be Dan, because this is going up next year.
Yes, I think
Okay, so
Yeah.
if you're watching this, it's already out. Hooray!
Yeah,
Go and
awesome.
play it. It's 40 levels in Mario Maker, and they're all designed by me.
That's like legit game designer experience, though.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
So like in my head, I was kind of like thinking, I really want to get into game design, and because I really enjoy, I know it sounds silly, but because it's baby's first game maker, but it's like I really enjoy making games and making levels and designing levels for Mario Maker. I always have a great time. So I was just kind of like really in my head, I was like, I'm gonna really lean into this. I'm gonna try and make something really big and cool, and I'm really happy with what I've done. I think some of the levels are really creative, and I'm just looking forward to seeing friends check them out and play, and anyone else who cares to torment themselves.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a good time. I am genuinely curious to see how people like it once it's out, which it is if you're watching this, unless something horrible happened and I lost my Nintendo Switch.
No, God, I
Because
hope.
it's all, I don't think it's local. I think it's all local.
Oh my God.
That would break my heart.
Yeah, no kidding.
I
What a
brought it
fucking
on
nightmare.
a small staycation to a cabin just to kind of keep my sanity up.
Right.
And I did have that thought of just like, oh shit, like if I lose this, does this back up to the cloud? I actually have no idea.
I think so. Nintendo does have cloud saves. I just don't know if it's for Mario Maker, but I assume so. I don't know.
I have no clue.
Might be worth looking into. Yeah. I think you can back up saves to an SD card. I think so. Maybe at least that.
At least that. Maybe. Regardless, I haven't lost my Switch, so that's good.
Good.
And I very much have the levels. So they're hopefully going to be going up very soon.
Do you? Sorry, I was just like wondering as you were talking about Mario Maker. Do you do Roblox?
No, I've never done Roblox.
Roadblocks.
I've never touched it. I think that it was I was not within, like when it was big, I wasn't in the age range of people who would be playing Roblox. Same with RuneScape. So like those were two things that a lot of my friends like speak very fondly of when they talk about their childhood, but I can't say I had any time with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I don't know, like, to be honest, like the first time I heard of Roblox was because I was like, before the pandemic, hung out with like family, and then there's like a nephew, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you watching these days? And he was all like, Roblox is the best. And I'm like, okay, so cartoons? Bye.
Yeah, never mind.
But
I don't give a shit.
I don't know, and I was wondering, because like you can like, I feel so fucking old. I'm like, I don't really know exactly what you do with Roblox, but I see people doing like animated music videos and like whole games and stuff.
Yeah, I hear it's pretty diverse what you can do with that. I don't know anything about it myself. I've never touched it.
Yeah, it's pretty open-ended as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
I think the interesting thing about Mario Maker is that it's a very easy tool to like practice game design.
I see.
I'm not a programmer. I'm just an artist animator. So like, I feel like if I wanted to design a game with someone now, I would have a pretty good idea of the kind of platformer I'd like to build, based on like platformers I really enjoy the feel of. Some I'd still need to beat, like Hollow Knight. My chat is riding my dick about getting me to finish that game.
Gotta play Hollow Knight.
Yeah, I know. I had the ending spoiled though, so I guess that's why I'm not rushing.
Oh, yeah.
At a bar, believe it or not. It was actually at a Guildhall.
Oh, yeah.
There was a speedrunner playing it, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. Oh, that's the end of the game. Oh,
It is, but
shit.
the story doesn't really matter. It really is the journey. And not
Yeah,
the
I guess so,
destination,
so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'd like to make. I think finding the correct partner to start that journey, because obviously I would want to find a programmer or a designer who has a similar vision or interest in making something like that. Like I've talked a little bit about wanting to get into game development just on streams and stuff. And I've had a few like game design students send me their portfolios and stuff, and like, some of them pretty good, but like I haven't seen anything yet that's made me go like, this is the person, like I'm gonna drop everything to work with them, like maybe that'll happen, but for the time being, it's like, because obviously games are expensive, and my time is limited, and I pay my bills by mostly streaming now, so it's like, where does that fit into my my current routine, I guess.
I'm in the same boat. It's like I really want to do it, but I got to figure out how to do all this other shit first.
Yeah, it's a real balancing act.
Cool. Is there anything you want to plug?
Well, if you haven't seen any of my old cartoon stuff, you can go to youtube.com/Rubber Ninja. If you want to come watch me stream and be very good at lying in Among Us, you can go to twitch.tv/Rubber Ninja. Oh, sorry. Yes, that's right. Rubber Ninja. And then if you want to, if you can't catch a stream, you just want to see me be good at lying in Among Us or making Mario Maker levels, you can go to youtube.com/RubberRoss, which is my stream highlights channel, which is a banger. It's very fun. Lots of good videos up there. And I also do some non-stream stuff, like some looks into virtual reality and stuff, some more produced content. Yeah. Because that's one of my passions. Other than that, I guess twitter.com/Rubber Ninja. Rubber Ninja most places. I think there's just one channel called Rubber Ross. So you'll find me pretty much anywhere under that alias. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
That was so fun.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Well, that's the end of this creative block. Thanks to Ross for being our guest and sharing his story.
And thanks to our listeners. Follow us on Twitter, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to my sister Clemens for editing the podcast.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks, Clemens. Please subscribe to the channel if you love our content. I've been your host, Gene.
And I was V. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.